92% of the people viewing my videos are not subscribed, so you're probably new to the channel, and welcome. My name is Sean, and in this video, we're going to look at some things with McLaren engine air filters. It's been said in the past that aftermarket air filters perform no better than stock ones. So thought maybe I should look into this. I've got some aftermarket air filters, and we're going to check a few things. Now this is the factory filter, and it's got a date on it. Right there, and it's 2015. Now, I have owned the car since 2018, and if you're keeping track, it's 2021. So this filter has been in there for quite some time. Now, McLaren recommends that you replace these with annual maintenance, meaning regardless of how many miles you've driven it, you should replace this filter. So I myself have put 20,000 miles on this filter, and I don't know how many miles were before that. I have blown out the foam, so the foam that's inside the air box did get this clogged, and I did blow it out, but you see how clean it is, and in the pleats there's still a little bit of foam right down there in all the gaps. I'm not sure how much difference that makes, but all in all, this filter I don't think is really that bad. Perhaps this is supposed to be a lighter white color. I don't believe it is. This should be a little bit darker than normal, I would think. But I don't think this is so bad for however many miles are actually on this. And that takes us to what we're replacing it with, and that's this guy. You can get these from emfcaraudio.com, and there's a link in the description below, as well as a little pop-up there. And with these guys, this is a reusable filter, where the factory one is not. So you buy these once, they cost the same as factory, and you never have to buy another set again. So plies on here are pretty tightly wound. That may or may not be restricting airflow. I realize it gives more surface area for filtering, whereas this has less, but is also a different media. So the thing with changing out filters is some advertise greater flow, and greater flow in means greater flow out, because your engine is basically a giant air compressor. However, a lot of the time, when you gain increased flow, you also have reduced filtration. These actually are a very good filter. I don't have the information on what this can filter down to, but these will be safe. They don't require oil. And that's going to be the other thing, is when you look at some of the other, or should I say all of the other aftermarket brands, I think there's 3, all of them require oiling, which is bad. Why is that bad? The oil leaves the filter and ends up in your mass airflow sensor, and it can cause all kinds of problems. You also can wash it out, but you also have to wash it, re-oil it, and then run into the same problems with oil causing problems past the filter back to your engine. These are not like that. These you can just use a mild detergent, wash them right out, and that's it. Let them dry. You never have to buy another set again. So if you are doing the annual maintenance, this actually saves you $400 to $500 a year, depending on if you have a 3.8 liter or a 4 liter. And even if you aren't buying them every year, you still don't have to buy them again. You can just clean these out and they're good to go. So realistically, this makes sense to do on your next air filter change, regardless of any performance difference. Now, the manufacturer doesn't necessarily claim that these will make more power. Any power that you might see is only going to be maybe a few horsepower. We're talking maybe 5, maybe 7. And, you know, that's 1%. So nothing you'll notice other than on a dyno. Efficiency is what they're claiming. So what we're going to be testing is real world performance, most notably from 60 to 130 miles an hour, because that's when the engine is going to be most under load, trying to take in the most amount of air to make the most amount of power. It takes out any variables from like 0 to 60, because you can have wheel slip, various things with the surface itself, tire temperatures, all that kind of stuff. We're going to eliminate all that. So 60 to 130, Will this outperform? That'll be our gauge of acceleration. But I've also made a handy dandy jig that we can test actual flow between this filter and this filter. Now, this is not intended to say this filter is infinitely better than this one. You absolutely have to go aftermarket. But what it is going to point out, at the very least, is maybe you should stay on top of changing your air filter, even if it doesn't look bad. You know, I don't have a direct comparison to a brand new one, so I can't say how much less this will flow, but this could be an testament to keep an eye on your filters. So that's what we're going to check in our jig. So let's look at our test setup so you can see exactly what we're working with. And here is our fancy test jig. We have an electric leaf blower that's pumping plenty of air into our conveniently sized box that just so happens to be about the same size as the air box in the P11 platform, and probably also the other ones. So air's gonna come in here. Our filter will go right down here. And then we'll have the opening pop out here. We can measure the amount of air coming out of this hole. That's gonna tell us how much limiting our filter is doing. So first we're gonna get a test run with no filter in here at all for a baseline of 0 obstruction. And then we're gonna try both of our filters and see how they vary. Are they gonna block anything or a lot? Comment below and see what you think. I can tell you that there are no CFM claims on either of these filters, but there is an aftermarket filter that claimed 200 CFM, and I think we're gonna see over that with no filter at all. So this could be interesting to see what's what. This is the anemometer. No, I did not say anal mom eater. That is a different part of the internet. Say it with me. Anemometer is what we're using to measure the wind speed and airflow. So this end goes over the output. This end shows you the numbers. I've got it set to maximum, so you can see where I blew into it, and we've got 30 CFM. We're gonna turn this guy on and see what we have with no obstruction, box only, completely empty. So 240 CFM. Let's see if we can get that over to miles per hour. So we're a little over 40 miles an hour coming out of that for that airflow. And we can also check what might be going into the car as read on the side of the car. Now I can tell you that the limitation of the turbo inlet, I can't find specifics on the McLaren turbo because it is a Mitsubishi TD04, but it is very specific. I have reason to believe that the limitation is in excess of 400 CFM on the inlet. So technically a filter is going to be a bottleneck in this entire system. So let's get one filter in there and see what our results are. All right, so we have got the factory original used filter in here. Let's see what kind of result we get. First with speed and then with volume. All right, so we got 44 miles an hour, so we don't seem to have any obstruction in terms of speed. Let's change this over to flow, and let's get us over to CFM, because I'm American and that's how we do it. Over 240. Let's hit max hold on that and do that again. $246. So it appears we have not lost any volume at all with this factory filter from what we can deliver with nothing there. So realistically, I'll change out the other filter and we shouldn't see a difference unless it's more obstructive. All right, now you can see we've got the Aftermarket in here. We'll give it a go. We'll start with speed once more, and we'll set that to maximum. $47, so slightly higher. The only thing that I can figure is somehow we're actually generating more velocity as a result of having this gathering air before it's shooting out versus coming in, and you know there's actually less volume when you have the filter in here, so maybe generating more speed, which is awesome. But let's try volume. Flip that guy over. CFM, maximum. $267. So we're in the ballpark. It does not appear that either of these flows miraculously better than the other. We also seem to be near maxing out what we can do with this leaf blower. So if we had more volume that we could deal with, then I could possibly see a definitive result. Actually, on the car is probably where we'll find the limits of these filters, but it seems like in your normal everyday usage, you're not going to see a difference in flow between a factory one and an aftermarket. Again, not to say that one is not necessarily better than the other. We haven't determined that yet. But in terms of flow, the factory one does seem to be doing a pretty good job. So the next thing is going to be installing these filters. Now, I've already installed one of them, obviously, so I could swap and show you exactly factory and aftermarket in the same shot without having the car torn apart. So I'm going to swap the other filter, and if you want to know how to swap these filters, click right up there, and there should be a little pop-up, and in the description below I'll put a link on the whole how-to procedure on how to change out these filters. But I'm going to get this other one changed out, and then we're going to run back the same test that I already did with the factory filters. I have test data from 60 to 130, and we can compare that data with the new filters. So I'll get that testing done, we'll compare data, and then see where we're at. And there you see the result. We got a baseline for our amount of time it takes to go from 60 to 130. We have a baseline for air going into the engine from the mass airflow sensor. Then I ran it back with the aftermarket. We had a slightly quicker time, and we had slightly more flow. And that does go back to the testing that we did on the bench that showed we had slightly more flow. So if you're in a completely stock application, are you really going to see anything? Probably not. In a street application where you're just everyday driving it, are you going to see a difference? Probably not. If you're going for every little hundredth and every little tenth, yes, you can see it from putting an aftermarket filter, or at the very least making sure that you have a clean factory filter. Now, the aftermarket are reusable. You can clean them. So it's a no-brainer to me. They cost the same as a factory replacement. You don't have to buy any more. So I'm going to say those are the ones you should buy. And those are in the description below. And not necessarily those, though. Those are the best option. Any aftermarket that says they'll flow more, the more you have modified, the more difference you may actually see. So if you've done upgraded turbos and that kind of thing, yeah, you're probably more likely to need that better air filter. And that's definitely one of those benefits of using one that will flow more. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, because we're still pretty new to this and we're trying to grow the channel. If you found this helpful, comment below, let me know. I'd like to know your input on these videos. Do you think I could have done something better on the test itself for flow testing? I'm working with limited resources here, not dumping a ton of money in. I don't have a professional facility. But if you think I could have done something differently, let me know below. I'm in for constructive criticism. Hope you enjoyed it, and check out some of the other videos in the playlist for all the maintenance and modifications and all that, and I'll see you in the next one.